What's up guys, Readiness Rations here with you again, and today we're checking out a commercial meal ready to eat. This is an Arctic field ration packed by Minotaur Trading Company. The menu is lamb with vegetables in curry sauce. These Minotaur Arctic field rations utilize freeze-dried food products, giving them extremely long shelf life. The inspection date on this particular ration is October 2031. I'm a huge fan of anything curry, so I'm excited to check this one out. Before we open it up though, I just want to remind you guys to give this video a thumbs up if you like seeing these ration reviews here on YouTube, and to subscribe to the channel to catch all of my future ration reviews, both civilian and military. While you're at it, let me know what MRE you would like to see me review next. And now let's open up this AFR. Minotaur uses a pretty basic white box, no kind of tape or anything, so it opens up very easily. First thing on the inside there is our main entree, lamb with vegetables in curry sauce, coming in at 470 calories. That was packed October 2021, making this ration just over a year old at this point. Next item is cornbread stuffing. That is 240 calories. Kind of an odd pairing for lamb curry, but we'll keep an open mind. A 1 ounce package of cream cheese icing, accessory pack, which we will take an in-depth look at here in just a moment, and all-day snack classic trail mix, 1/2 cup, 390 calories, and there's a little bit of residue on the outside of the package there. A package of Skyflakes crackers. People rave about these things. Looks like a dessert here. Plain cheesecake, 460 calories. And the last thing in the box is our beverage base powder. That is a grape drink mix, 110 calories. Now let's see what was included in this accessory package. Sugar pack, moist towelette, non-dairy coffee creamer, a Folgers brand instant coffee crystals, a small plastic spork, 2 Lifesaver candies, and a very small single serve iodized salt. These Arctic field rations by Minotaur Trading Company are predominantly comprised of items packed by Minotaur, but they do have some off-the-shelf consumer items like the Skyflakes crackers and that Folgers instant coffee, along with items that are packed in the same facilities that produce legitimate US military MREs, like this cream cheese icing. This is looking like a heck of a lot of food for a single meal, and that's a good thing because I'm pretty darn hungry. Let's get it plated up. Well, that ration pack really covered up the entirety of my tray. First thing to do will be checking out the main lamb with vegetables and curry sauce. As soon as I pulled that seal, all I could smell was curry powder. There is a little yellowed do not eat desiccant pack in there, which we will not be eating. It doesn't look like the largest portion here, but we can see those chunks of lamb, green peas, and a bit of rice. Let's try out a curried lamb chunk in its freeze-dried form. Before hydrating, the curry flavor on that is pretty potent. It's basically just like a little dry, crunchy bit of lamb with straight curry powder on it. I suppose we'll try out one of those peas while we're at it. Now that was a delightful little styrofoamy crunch, followed with a pretty intense pea flavor that was very sweet, quite nice in my opinion. Now, being a freeze-dried entree, this does require hot water to reconstitute. The directions are calling for 12 ounces of hot water and at least 10 minutes to rehydrate. I have my 12 ounces pre-measured here, and so let's dump that straight into the pouch. I'm going to add about half, give it a quick stir, and add the rest. That does seem like a lot of water for such a small portion here, but we will give those directions the benefit of the doubt. Reseal the Ziploc, and we'll let that mellow for the directed 10 minutes. We also have our cornbread stuffing, and that just looks like straight stovetop stuffing. If you've ever checked that out before, that's also what it smells like. Try out one of those little dry croutons with this. And that's exactly what that was like, a crouton that you would put on a salad. Now, of course, that's not meant to be eaten dry. That one calls for 1/4 cup of hot water, which happens to be a pretty minuscule 2 ounces. And hopefully, without burning myself, we'll seal this back up, give it a quick fold over for safety, and the direction of this one say to give it a good shake. And that is pretty unpleasant with that screaming hot water. After shaking, we'll give that one 8 minutes. And we have one final hot item to prepare, and that will be our Folgers coffee. Can't say I've ever had a Folgers brand instant coffee before. It does appear to be a freeze-dried coffee. I'm assuming being Folgers, this tastes pretty basic, so I'm gonna go ahead and sugar and cream it, as I typically prefer. The directions on that Folgers coffee call for 6 ounces of water, so we will add that. And that seems to have dissolved even without stirring. That's still a little too hot to drink, so let's continue unpacking some of this other stuff. We'll take a look at this all-day snack classic trail mix. That looks a lot like the fruit and nut mix in a US MRE. It's a good amount in that pouch. So in that, we have an almond. I only see the one. A cashew and a couple little cashew slivers. Plenty of peanuts. Lots of these rather large raisins that appear to be salted or sugared on the outside, and that has M&Ms in it. I think we're ready for a sip of our instant Folgers here. I can't say I've ever knowingly drank Folgers before, so unfortunately I can't really compare this to your typical Folgers, but what I can compare it to is other ration coffees, and to me this actually seems a little bit on the weak side. It has a very stiff bitterness to it that is still present even with the sugar pack that I added, but as far as having a robust kind of coffee flavor, it's lacking in that department. It's smooth enough with the creamer, and it's enjoyable to drink, nice and warm on this cold winter day, but far from my favorite cup of instant coffee, that's for sure. Let's get this great drink prepared. The first ingredient listed on this is cane sugar. Now that drink mix looks pretty clumped in there and smells sort of sickly sweet. It has this very pungent artificial grape aroma, almost cough syrup-like. This drink mix is meant to be prepared in its pouch, and to that we're going to add 12 to 14 ounces of cold water and shake well for the directed 45 seconds. And now let's pour it up. Little bit of residue left on the inside of the pouch, but it actually mixed up pretty good, and it smells a good bit better now that the water's been added to it as well. We've waited long enough on our main entree. Oh no, look at that. I think we're dealing with curry soup, boys. Oh yeah, there is no way that that water is getting absorbed. You wouldn't even be able to call this stew. It is straight soup. 12 ounces of water was a gross overestimation in my opinion. I think it would have been better off with half that. I think 6 ounces would have been the right number. I guess we'll pour this up. Liquid sort of a green yellow color from peas and curry. And with all that liquid, it's very close to overflow in the container. It doesn't look all that bad as a soup, but when I think lamb with vegetables and curry sauce, this is definitely not what I would imagine. So this meal is absolutely swimming, as you can tell. Now our chunks of lamb are still intact. It appears to be sort of a ground lamb meat. The green peas look pretty good. There's some little carrot bits in there that have plumped up from absorbing some water. And we have our little bit of rice. Since we have so much of this liquid, we're gonna go in first for just a taste of that. Unfortunately, things are a little bit watered down tasting. You can certainly tell that it's curry. Just a straight off-the-shelf curry powder is what it tastes like. It has a tiny bit of spice. There may be some cayenne in there, something adding a little bit of heat. I'm a huge lover of anything curry, and so this isn't bad to me, but it is most certainly watered down. I think the flavors would be far more punchy with less liquid. Now let's go in for some of the rice. We'll get straight rice and carrots for this bite. The rice is fully rehydrated. The carrots add a little bit of sweetness. Now we'll get a little bit of rice with some peas. Those peas are pretty darn good. Freeze-dried peas are always to my liking. It's the fact that they maintain their sweetness that I really enjoy. And finally here, we'll get a little bit of lamb with a little bit of everything else. And give that a shot. Now, when I tried the lamb in its dry form, it didn't have much of that very unique lamb flavor, but now that it has rehydrated, it does taste like lamb. Let's try just that large chunk by itself there. Oh yeah, the taste of the lamb actually overpowers the curry seasoning. I'm a lamb fan, so I like that flavor, but if you're a little bit squeamish about things not having a super neutral taste like you would get with beef or chicken, you might not like that. If I could turn back the clock and take some of that water out, I certainly would, but even with how it is right now, still pretty enjoyable. That is coming from someone that both likes lamb and curry though. Now let's take a look at our cornbread stuffing. Now it's pretty much the opposite of the lamb. It's looking like it's soaked up every bit of that water, and it's pretty solid. Dump that on the tray here. I believe the stuffing is comprised of both cornbread and regular bread crumbs, which is the way cornbread stuffing, or dressing, as it's called here in the South, should be prepared. There's a good bit of green herbs visible in that. Got some little chunks of dehydrated celery. It's a little bit gloopy, but that just goes with the territory. Got a sporkful there, and down the hatch. Very soft, well seasoned. That poultry seasoning taste takes center stage, and you can't mistake that pretty strong flavor of the celery. If I would have added this mix dry to the lamb curry, it would have soaked up a lot of that liquid and probably made the dish better. But these flavors don't exactly go together. On their own, they're both good. Although coming back to the curry from the stuffing, I can definitely tell that this curry is lacking on seasoning. It is just very watered down tasting. I guess we'll try a little bit of the two together. That adds some substance and depth of flavor that the curry was missing, but it's still not a very complimentary flavor, poultry seasoning and curry. Wash those down with a sip of our grape drink here. Now that is cold and refreshing. High level of sweetness. It's maintaining a bit of tartness, and although it does taste heavily of artificial grape, it's not so pungent that I can't stand it. It just has that cough syrup taste just a little bit. Try out one of our raisins here. They are salted. That's nice. Sweet and salty mixed together. You get a couple peanuts, crunchy and fresh. And now we'll get a handful of everything, including that one almond. Crunchy, chewy, sweet, salty, plus a little bit of chocolate. This is super basic and simple, but that might be my favorite thing in the ration so far. I did unearth another almond, so it was 2 in the pack. We'll try this one by itself. It's roasted, crunchy and fresh. Very nice. Let's take a look at these Skyflakes crackers. These are made in the Philippines. I lost one to the floor. They got a little perforation in them. They break very easily. Lovely snap. They smell like a saltine. We'll see how they taste. Tastes like a saltine. Pretty much identical to a saltine cracker in flavor. Let's try that with a bit of our rice soup here. That's a nice crunchy vessel for scooping up some of this flavored liquid. A year after packing, these crackers are still pretty fresh, but I can tell that they are showing their age a little bit. I think in another year's time, I'd probably consider these stale, but at the moment, they're still kicking. Before I eat all those with the curry lamb soup, let's open up this cream cheese icing. Generally, this stuff is not my favorite. It has a little bit of a chemical flavor in my opinion, but if you add it to something, it's pretty decent. And so we'll squirt some out here on one of our crackers and give that oozy cream cheese icing a taste. Super sweet, oppressively sweet. It does have that sort of weird chemical flavor going on. Not my favorite thing, but I do see why the people that love this do love this. Finally, we have made it to dessert time. I'm very excited to check out this plain cheesecake. I think this is gonna mix up similar to an instant pudding, and that's what that powder looks like. Instant pudding powder. I'll get a little taste of that by itself. And that little bit that I just had didn't taste like much at all. Directions on that call for 3 ounces of cold water. That's my best estimation of 3 ounces. Seal that up. Seal that up. I had a bit of a blowout, but all we can do is move right along. Now that the pouch is sealed, we're supposed to shake well. And let that stand for 2 minutes. I pretty much ruined these last 2 crackers with the spill out that we just had. Now that one was still crunchy. I'm gonna finish that one off, and we'll attempt to clean up a little bit with our moist towelette. Doubt it's gonna do much for absorbing water, but better than nothing. It was good for cleaning up the perimeter, but that's about it. Luckily, I'm never too far removed from some Lighthouse toilet paper, and with that, we have our little mishap remedied. Since I very obviously put too much water in this cheesecake mix, I don't expect it to have set up properly. It is pudding-like, but sort of a runny pudding. Decently thick, I suppose. And it's a large serving of it. I saw a couple little chunks as that was pouring out, but it seems to have mixed up decently well. Let's get a sporkful here. It has a little bit of a cheese thing. More than anything, it reminds me of instant pudding, as expected. But I can certainly tell that there's sort of a cream cheese flavor to this. Not in a bad way either. It tastes pretty natural. It's sweet, it's cool. The regular cheesecake can be a little bit too rich to enjoy. This doesn't suffer from that affliction. You run into a crunchy bit here and there, where the powder hasn't completely absorbed all the moisture that it could. But the taste on that's perfectly fine. I'll load up a little sporkful here and top that off with a little bit of super sweet cream cheese icing and try those together. That really pumps up the sweetness. The pleasant, more neutral flavor of the cheesecake cuts down on that artificial taste of the cream cheese icing, and they go together pretty good. I think you could squeeze this entire cream cheese icing into that cheesecake mix, and it would turn out just fine. One last thing to taste, and that'll be one of our Lifesavers candies. These are already starting to liquefy just a little bit after just a year, so these candies are certainly not going to make it to that 10-year inspection date, but they have a couple years in them at least. A little bit chewy, a little bit crunchy, and I'm pretty sure that was strawberry. strawberry, and I'm definitely not an artificial strawberry fan. But one thing I'm not going to do is complain about adding a couple sweet little treats to the ration. Well guys, that was a Minotaur Trading Company Arctic Field Ration packed in 2021, lamb with vegetables and curry sauce. And although this was nothing spectacular, it was a decent enough meal. The only major flaw was overestimating the amount of water to prepare that main entree. The idea behind these meals for Minotaur is for civilians to be able to buy them for outdoor activities, camping, backpacking, hiking, and for that kind of thing. This is pretty decent. Everything is easy enough to prepare. You pretty much just need water and time. And with that really long shelf life, this could be a decent item to stow away in your vehicle, just in case you ever catch yourself in a situation where you might need an emergency meal. If you enjoyed this review, please hit that thumbs up button to help it out with that Google algorithm. Let me know what you thought about this review and the ration down in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See you then. Peace.